All right, and we're off. Thank you all for joining us here today. Apologies if you didn't catch that earlier part.
Arriving at
But looks like we're getting started here relatively shortly. First map's gonna be Ilios. Ilios is a map that we know that the Dragons are quite heavily favored in. We have a pretty confident dive comp, especially with that Winston Wrecking Ball potential combination. And so those kind of dive comp style teams are what really benefit us as a team because they really play to our strengths. We know that Emanon is very, pretty much a Lucio player. And so Lucio is a character that strives on Ilios. As somebody who played Lucio myself, I know that Lucio likes to get those boops into the well, but, looks like they're going to clap back with Dundas also on the Lucio. See how that all works out.
Quick on our feet. Hard to
What's it
defeat.
called? And then we're looking at pretty normal stuff from the side of the Dragons. We get to see a little bit of Winston action, a little bit of Genji action, and in the backline you got Lucio Ana. It's pretty normal for what we've seen. Obviously you're looking for that Nano Blade combination. Lucio is just kind of there as just moral support with that constant healing aura. And they are looking for a brawl. They're looking for a fight. Coming with Ramatra, coming with Symmetra, coming with Mei. They're like, I'm gonna get in your face and I'm gonna punch you till you die. But if we can get on their backline, if we can get onto that Kiriko, onto that Sojourn, it could be a very, very different story. Let's see how the match starts out. Getting a little bit of early pokes while Viking manages to find a little bit of information onto the enemy team. Looks for a dive onto the Sojourn and Lucio, which is away by Lucio. Oh, Taz21 falling, Veracity there, falling a little bit low on the tracer, but able to recall back. Obviously some right clicks here from Wild Viking. Wall just barely misses there from the Mei, but really damage from Taz21, so able to charge up that blade a little bit quickly. He's healing there for Veracity outwards. Ooh, Taz21 felt a little bit low. Wild Viking comes in to try and get some health back. Taz21 dashes away. There's the Suzu from the Kiriko. It's going to be very, very big. Pickings for the Ana, gets in purple onto the Launcher, but it's not followed up by the enemy team, by the rest of the team. Taz21 and Veracity forced to retreat. Taz21 close to falling, but doesn't indeed. There's Veracity looking for the damage. Gets shot from behind, but has to pull back. The Mei Wall is able to dissuade a little bit of aggression for there. Early on. Taz21 falling very low to that Ramatra E and that Sojourn E. There's that Ramatra E, just pulling them back towards the ground, but really Ramatra's whole kit is tickle until you get to Nemesis mode. I guess the same is true for Genji and Tracer now that I think about it. Veracity looking at a little bit of poke onto the Ramatra. Ramatra has very little healing remaining. Kiriko gets back there to try and save him. For an engage, Wild Viking unable to find one. Veracity gets picked up a little bit early. There's Nemesis mode up by Zeph on the Ramatra, but is answered back by nice healing there from Veracity on the Kiriko, who switched off from the Ana. Wild Viking calls for Zeph. Looking like it's not going to be a very quick early point here on the Ilios. Dragon Blade is ready from Taz21. But when they have answering back with Blizzard and Kitsune Rush, it's going to be very difficult to get some sort of pick. So we need to look for some early picks here from the Sojourn, from the Genji, and without that Nano Boost Dragon Blade combo, it's really getting any sort of big combos. There's a Kitsune Rush, a little bit of a defensive Kitsune Rush, trying to look for some picks early into the fight, pushing them back to spawn. Jodo falls extremely low, forced to use that Ice Block, but Nemesis mode is released from the Ramatra, but Veracity gonna just get retreating back to spawn. Nice little defense there by Taz21, trying to fall a little bit low, but there's Veracity with their heals. Just in time. Are they able to heal both their teammates? Yes, they are. Now, ultimate advantage does go back to the side of the Dragons. Veracity has that overclock coming up relatively shortly if they don't hit walls. Veracity has access to Kitsune Rush, and Taz21 has built the Dragon Blade as well. Manon is close-ish to beat, and the Wild Viking is pretty much ready for the Primal Rage at any given moment. There's the Kitsune Rush, jumps in, looking for the Primal Rage, potentially not. There's the enemy beat from the side of Dundas, but the Blizzard is finding a lot of them. Taz21 perishes, and there's the overclock from the enemy Sojourn. Wild Viking manages to pick onto the enemy's Mei and looks for the Sojourn. Sojourn dashes away though. It's going to be close to falling in the pit. Nice little kill from Veracity. Good kill with the rail. Wild Viking here with Primal Rage still keeps it available, but the point remains in the favor of the Ruse. Are they able to secure that? It's yet to be seen. The Ramatra is still an ever-existing threat, but Veracity picks off the Kiriko with Ramatra with very little healing remaining. Is forced to retreat to a Lucio, who's not going to be able to heal a lot of the damage, especially when the Wild Viking is getting a beautiful double kill, getting the Lucio and getting the Ramatra. All that's left is the Soldier trying to protect him, and Taz21 with a dash is able to take them out. Well done by the side of the Dragons. And 3 ultimates, 4 if I was mistaken, used on the side of the Ruse in all the Mei. The Ramatra ult, the Annihilation was used, I didn't even realize, the Overclock and the Beat. And on the side of the Dragon, nothing except for Kitsune Rush and that Dragon Blade. I don't know how effective the Dragon Blade was, but the Kitsune Rush was extremely important. And like I said, when Wild Viking's able to get onto your backline, it's difficult in order to answer back the heals that you're looking for. Wild Viking spots up, doesn't much team fighting enemy team, looking to look a little bit onto that left side. Wild Viking goes on with the Primal Rage, gets one kill onto Kiriko. Taz21 secures it with a nice little double kill with those dashes. Taz21 looking for a nice little securing, but unable to find it. Wild Viking finds Jodo Akujo in the Torbjorn in the room, brought down to the floor by Ramatra. Ramatra is just barely beat out to the maximum health back. Veracity secures the kill with a kunai. Well done here from the side of the Dragons. 99% still on the board for the Brews though, so it's going to be very difficult for the Dragons to give up any sort of point take. So we need to win every single fight from here on out. Very, very critical. I'm looking for a little bit of pokes here. Wild Viking goes up top. Some damage. Torbjorn does have the turret down. Overclocking, we have the Kitsune Rush. This is a devastating combination. And if the enemies overextend, if they use just one ultimate, if they show the Dragons that they have even any sort of resources, the Dragons will answer back with a Rush Overclock that is one that you do not want to see in your worst nightmares. Here's Wild Viking looking for a kill, finds the Sojourn, and with Sojourn taken out, Cat 21 falls in trade, but the Lucio falls as well, with only 0 healers remaining. The side of the Ruse is going to be very difficult, and 0 ultimates used except for the Kitsune Rush. It's devastating for the Ruse. The Ruse are forced back to this 1 point and are going to be brought to the next map. Dragons, very well done there from both teams. I think you saw some early aggression really rewarding the Ruse for, you know, smart micro play, but when ultimate economy starts failing, it's difficult to come back.
Ready for battle.
And something that you've seen is that you saw the Ruse switched up quite a good amount. They switched to the Torbjorn, they switched to,
You've heard of that?
you know, I think
Yeah.
they switched from the Sojourn to something else,
what'd you
maybe
think?
not. Oh yeah, they were on the Symmetra.
Nobody uses
And,
electric guitars
you know,
like those guys.
all that you saw, and maybe actually they did the Sim TP out. I might not have seen that correctly. I apologize. But Veracity switches from the Ana to the Kiriko, another comfort pick that we know they have.
4,
And as long as we're sticking on what works, it
1.
really matters.
Round 2.
Here's map 2. This is Ruins, a very open map.
Solid work.
Sniper's
Keep it
Paradise,
going.
but with no snipers on the map. Oh, Pugatti goes
draw
and
judgment.
chooses the Widowmaker. This would be very devastating for Emanon or Taz21. Taz21 instantly already falling a little bit low, sees the Widowmaker on the high ground, but is shot out of the sky. Really, really good shot there by Pugatti. Gonna put the team fight advantage in the hands of the Ruse. How are we gonna answer back? We have to retreat a little bit. Wild Viking falls a little bit short, and with no shield and no resources remaining, Ramacha in that Nemesis mode is gonna be able to run through the entirety of the Dragons, but still gonna be able to pull back just enough. That's a whale fully charged. Not able to find a shot though. Looks for the Widowmaker. Doesn't find it. Unfortunate. Point does go into the favor of the Ruse. Widowmaker just barely spots out Wild Viking there. All of the Dragon need to be constantly aware of where this Widowmaker is because it essentially dictates the entire fight. If the Winston is not able to get on top of the Widowmaker just gets free reign. Like we said, this is a sniper's paradise.
Under my protection.
Veracity, they're on the Kiriko, looking for a little bit of flank. Finds the Mei a little bit low. Wild Viking jumps onto him with the Mei into the ice block. And the Kiriko Suzu is able to protect him for just a little bit longer. Wild Viking does find the Mei though, who has no more resources remaining. And there is the Nemesis mode. Widowmaker again, still on the counter for Taz21 looking for a little bit of kill. Finds one onto the Lucio. Where is the Widowmaker in all of this? Where are the shots? Unable to be found. And Pugatti does manage to kill a Venomine, getting Veracity though. But Veracity enters back. And nice dash and a nice deflect there from Taz21. Secures the kill on the Kiriko, and Veracity with a whale finds Ramacha as well. Let's look at the ultimates now. Attendees has the access to that Kitsune Rush, and we're probably going to be seeing an annihilation here from the Ramacha. That is a combination that is insanely powerful. But to answer back, we do have Kitsune Rush and Overclock, another combination that is not what you want to be seeing. Sojourn E just barely missing there. Here's Wild Viking. Jumps out, gets the Mega Health Pack, gets the heal. Taz21 trying to deflect a punch, not going to work very well there. 95% to that Dragon Blade. Is it going to be used? Probably not. And here's Taz21, 40 health, unable to survive. A nice little boop there, kills Taz21. Emanon falls as well. We're going to have to retreat. With the Kitsune Rush used from the side of the Ruse, we cannot staying there for any longer. Wild Viking sticks a little bit too long, and trying to continue holding the point for as long as possible. Uses the Primal Rage to do just that. Just get that massive health bar. Wait for the team to get back with all the ultimates available. Veracity though has the overclocking. Veracity, no Kitsune Rush to be used just yet. Wild Viking still maintains their life. 226 health, makes it to the Mega Health Pack. There's the Kitsune Rush, and there's the Blizzard in order to answer back. Veracity has to fall back, and no overclock just yet. Has to be careful of that beat at all times. Wild Viking, and there's the overclock on the side of Veracity. Looking for the Mei, unable to find it. There's the beat from Emanon to try and keep the team alive. Taz21 with the Dragon Blade manages to find two, and a nice kill from Veracity secures the team fight. Attendees does find a trade back onto Veracity, but with no resources left, the Sojourn and Kiriko are forced to fall back to spawn. Well played from the Dragons, but at the cost of all of the ultimates in the game. The only ultimate remaining on the board is potentially an overclock on the side of Pugatti on the Sojourn. How will this turn out? looking to just kind of hold them back as long as they can. Viking probably going to be doing the same and looking to try and find the Sojourn. Again, the Sojourn has the ultimate, which is going to be the game changer in this next fight. Wild Viking does find that Mega Health Pack, always seems to know where they are, spots out the Sojourn, goes onto it, tries to just burst their whole kit into them, but the Kiriko is healing too much. Sojourn has to do too much damage. Wild Viking is going to fall back, but the Sojourn is going to stick to them. Nice little dash from Top 21, just secure kill onto the main, looking to find the Lucio. Lucio just two jumping around. Lucio goes back on a heal, and there's an Nemesis Code securing Wild Viking, and there's the overclock from the enemy Sojourn. It's going to be very difficult for the Dragons to defend this, but with 40% remaining, it's going to be nice and easy for them to take back with a good fight of their own. As Intendies, though, has built back the Kitsune Rush. And the Moorhead Dragons are not looking very ultimate happy. Nice little team kill there from the side of the Ruse. There's Wild Viking looking to get some exact reconnaissance. Finds that Mega Health Pack again. This is a lot of right clicks. Some extra damage. Increase cast. Looking for any sort of damage they're able to find. 62% to that Dragon Blade. No annihilation just yet. Still won't be able to do too much damage. Look at the damage on that Sojourn E. It is absolutely ridiculous. I don't remember what the ability is called at the moment. Rail! Oh my goodness, absolutely massive damage here from Veracity on the Sojourn. Viking finds the Kiriko post-rush, but teleports immediately away. Looks for an ultimate onto the Sojourn. The Sojourn again is a big threat in this fight. The beat doesn't find the Sojourn. Wild Viking needs his kill. Are they going to be able to find it? No, they are not. The Sojourn found the Mega Health Pack, just like Wild Viking have been doing in the past. 42 health remaining. Lamacha's just going to punch him to death. Looks like we might be going to map 3, everyone. And look at this. With all of their ultimates still left on the board, how will Moorhead be able to touch the point? 97%, 98, and Emanon is just not able to make it with a rollout. Potentially an overtime win could have been had, but Blizzard and Overclock still on the board. Very difficult for the Dragons. Well done by the side of the Ruse. Looks like we're going to the Lighthouse. Lighthouse is a map where both Lucios are going to have a very good time. But I don't think we're going to have that same Widowmaker presence as we had on Let's see how that all works out.
Let's get this mission started.
Pump up the base. Time to roll out.
Alright, here we are going into our next map.
1. Round 3. Capture.
Everything's even, but they go for the Symmetra again just to start, just so they can teleport to point a little bit faster. But with Lucio, it's always a toss-up as That from Lamacha looking for some early point presence here. Spotted out by the enemy team on the left side there. Brought down to the ground by that Lamacha pull. Unable to find a headshot there. Taps into one nudge. Does get a nice little trade back onto Dungeons. Emanon falls extremely low, but held healed back by their fellow support. Go to Kujo though with an ice block, manages to kill Taps 21. That's a new perk there. Main ice block will deal damage in a small radius around her. Taps 21 falls a little bit low and does die. I apologize a little bit early. We're actually looking for a headshot. Able to find one. Nice little jump by Wild Viking. Tries to find a Soldier, and Soldier dashes away though. Teleport from Veracity, tries to save Wild Viking, is able to do so, but at the cost of their own lives. Sojourn and Wild Viking and Cat 21 forced to retreat with the speed boost from Emanon. Gotti though does manage to find Veracity on the exit. Very, very difficult to handle. This first map's not looking this third map is not looking in our favor. But it's about point presence and it's about knowing where they are. So Lamacha and this Sojourn have been very difficult to catch. They're very sticky characters. But at the same time, they're very difficult to shut down because very good movement abilities. That's what I want. Look at that. Almost 130 damage there from one Kiriko right click. Alright, here we go. Wild Viking tries to get in onto them, but again, the entire team instantly collapses on them with no follow-up from the Kiriko. It's very difficult to handle them. Enemy tank does fall a little bit low, but May's able to keep them alive as well, using that freezing blast. Emanon tries to get away, but it's just getting too much damage. Emanon, Type 21, and Veracity are all going to fall, and Wild Viking is going to follow in suit with that ice block kill. Again, the ultimate economy is not looking very much in favor of the Dragons, and looking very, very strong on the side of the Ruse. Maintain access to pretty much all of their ultimates except for that beat, but the Dragons don't really seem to have very much of anything at this point. Potentially a Kitsune Rush, and there it is, popped by the enemy team. Gonna pretty much secure this fight when Veracity though does find one nice little headshot kill with that whale, tries to dash around, making sure that they're able to get as much healing as possible. He's buying a little bit of time there. Veracity looking for the Mega Health Pack, not able to find it. Find the whale onto A's and Tendies, but manages to find point presence here. Nice little whale, all of the mages and Sojourn on the point. Nice kill from Veracity though. Capturing the Wild Viking tries to get them as well, though Lucio is all that remains. Lucio is just a very annoying character, hard to get rid of. Gets back on top of the lighthouse, and there's Wild Viking, manages to find the kill on this enemy frog. So even with ultimate advantage, difficult for the Ruse to handle a full-out push with that Kitsune Lash. It's just very good team play from the side of the Dragons, but now that we're back kind of in this neutral position, it's going to be difficult to see how the Dragons handle this. This is not a place where they've traditionally shown very much strength. TAS21 does have that Dragon Blade, potentially, but will it be answered immediately back with a beat? That's to be seen. Wild Viking sitting under point. He drops down to the ice block, looking for some scout. And there's the Blizzard, popped by the Mei. Wild Viking jumps just out, and there's the enemy beat. Emanon barely managed to escape, and there's the beat to counter it, but he doesn't find all of the teams, all the Dragons, I apologize. Wild Viking is going to be dying in response, but Voracity gets a nice overclock as well. Enough damage. Oh, the Ramantra Annihilation is just going to be too much. The hitbox change. TAS21 with that Dragon Blade is only able to find the Genji, and the kill is going back to kills for TAS21. Is he going to be flooded anymore? No, he is not. It's just too much healing. Emanon, no, with an amazing double kill, keeps the dream alive. The point remains in the favor of the Dragons. Oh my goodness, insanely well done. Everybody on the Dragons had to pull their own weight that fight in order to keep that point alive, in order to keep this map alive. TAS21 with that beautiful Dragon Blade. Voracity just falling short with the overclock, but pulls enough crosshairs that TAS21 is able to get a double kill with the Dragon Blade, only for Emanon to secure the final kills, all supported by Voracity with this healing. Really, really, really well done there from the side of the Dragons. Really interesting to see how they answer back, though. Only ultimate that's left on the side of the Ruse is that Kitsune Rush. Voracity still maintaining access to that. Early Kitsune Rush tries to dissuade any sort of aggression from the side of the Ruse. Falling very low. Again, that Mei block does do a lot more damage than usual. And there it is. That's probably going to be a guaranteed fight win on the side of the Ruse. Really unfortunate how much damage that Mei does, but when the Blizzard isn't answered properly, tell you what, it'll be just like Texas, and the snow will take over. Well done from the side of the Ruse. I don't think that the Dragons are going to be able to touch. Maybe Wild Viking will, but no, that's Ilya going in favor of the Ruse. Really, really well done by both teams. I think you just saw really good neutral play from the side of the Ruse. They were able to really get a lot of ultimate charge, at the same time shutting down everything that the Dragons wanted to do with their dive comp. Really, really well done there. Well, our next map, I believe, is going to be a hybrid map. And we know for a fact that the Dragons like King Crow, so using that. But I'll take us to our next screen once Play the Game finishes from Wild Viking. For this kind of difference in the way that it's all working.
Traveling to
I'm just going to
Mumbai.
quickly switch the way that this looks, so it's like this. And then the scores shall be
Initiating
such.
match.
Right, I believe that that's correct. And then we'll get into it relatively shortly here. Once the thing loads, there it is. Welcome to Numbani, everyone. Numbani is a map that really is something that I haven't seen us play too much. We see a lot of King's Row from the Dragons, but I really haven't seen too many Numbanis. But I think it's going to be another Winston game from Wild Viking. Potentially, again, the normal comfort picks on the side of the DPS and the supports. So,
Ready
Sojourn,
for
you're looking at
battle.
Lucio, potentially at Kiriko. Right now, Voracity is actually hovering
I'm more of a basketball person.
Yes.
Not a fan of your home team, huh?
Apologies,
Don't
Defara.
put words in my mouth.
And you do not get to see Afara on the side of the Dragons very often. So I'm going to be very interested to see if that works out or if that's what they're going to be choosing. But it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be a very good game.
Keep in sight.
So Veracity does opt for the Ana. They are choosing a Winston. It's going to be a Winston mirror game. However, what's the key difference? They have a Torbjorn. Torbjorn is a character that is very, very much feast or famine. It can absolutely tank a team strategy, but it can also be the key player in allowing one team to win because it just isn't doing enough. Here's Voracity looking for a little bit of poke damage, but unable to find it. Wild Viking looking for an early shot onto this point. Uses the jump, forces the other Winston down before the jump is able to be used. And there's the other Winston trading positions right again. Wild Viking taking a lot of damage, finds a mega health pack, able to heal themselves back up to full. Trying to find the team saying, hey guys, where are you? Let's go to the point. Wild Viking already trepidatiously looking for a little bit of a point take. Morassi on the Pharah, doing a lot of that poke damage, and without a real hit scan besides the Torbjorn turret, it's going to be difficult for the Rubes to do that. A lot of them collapsing onto Wild Viking, who gets anti-grenade, but is instantly able to be shot back and healed by Morassi on the Ana. Well done there for both of them. Morassi on the Pharah, finds a kill onto Jodo Kujo on the Torbjorn, but it's not going to be enough. Forced to dash away there. The Winston tries to get onto the Morassi, but because it's a Pharah, it's difficult for Winston. He's only able to jump one time. Getting a Pharah, he's able to jump many, many times. Pagani does find a kill onto Evanon, answering back, keeping this point insecure of the Roots. Instantly jumps away after Wild Viking looks for a sort of hit onto them. Ace Tendies falls extremely low. Wild Viking spots it out and jumps and gets his kill. Nice anti-grenade from Morassi, finds the enemy Pagani in the grave. And there's the Torbjorn turret, all that's left to remain of the enemy Roots defenses. Objective is going to fall in favor of the Dragons. Nice little kill there from Wild Viking, just to put a cherry on top. But what he had falls extremely low. What health and it's Wild Viking though does have a quick respawn time with the respawner right there next to them. It shouldn't be too big of an issue, but you never know.
Nice work, team.
Sleep
Keep
dart
it moving.
from Morassi, not real science, but 98% to that nano boost. Oh, just barely missed there from Task 21. Morassi looking for some damage, forces the Ana off the high ground, extremely important position. There's the nano boost right as Wild Viking tries to get in onto the Ana, unable to find it. Ana gets the nano boost off before she dies, but the Sojourn falls in favor as well. Because the Judo was not properly looking at the Sojourn fell as well. Sojourn going to be next on the menu here for Wild Viking, but the Judo's actually looking at their DPS this time. Manages to keep the Torbjorn alive for just but not long enough though. Tap 21 gets killed onto Zeph on the enemy Winston, just in time. Ana gets back to heal back to Juno. That's going to be a fight, pretty much won, and there goes Wild Viking. Again, gets a little bit too far, tries to get out, and then dies for it. Second time we've seen that this game could potentially be punished in the future by the Rulers. Morassi does actually have access to the barrage now, but enemies can just try and take as much high ground as they want. There's the orbital array as well as the overclock. All Moorhead has to do is pull back, and no ultimates you needed to be used. Orbital array is worn out. There's the overclock worn out as well. Difficult ultimate usage here from the side of the Gurus. Again, like we said, their neutral play is good, but potentially their ultimate play is not quite what Moorhead did. There's the Winston trying to get back on top, forcing Wild Viking off, does manage to do that, goes back to the point instead. Task 21 does have access to that. Overclock, and Morassi there sees the Torb turret, just chop out a couple times, but brings it down. Torb with no turret remaining could potentially be a good opening for the Dragons to make a fight happen. Morassi getting a couple direct shots onto the Torb far, far away. Looking onto the Sojourn, not able to find it though. Here's a peek from Emanon. There's the overclock as well from the side of Morassi. Task 21 is being shot by a lot of people, and oh my goodness, many rails have missed this Ana. Torbjorn still maintains his high ground position though. Morassi, there's the multi-core from Torbjorn, but it's going to be doing nothing but hitting him with the shield. And all that's left is the Juno to try and defend everything they have. Winston does manage to use the primal leg. Is it going to be enough damage to get any kills? Potentially not, but all he has to do is stall out the point for as long as he can, and that's considered a win in his book. However, is it worth the ultimate? I don't know if that's necessarily true. Task 21 does manage to do what Wild Viking does many times and secures a kill on the exit from the distance. They have swapped from the Sojourn into the Ash. Potentially could be more advantageous on the side of Wild Viking, like we talked about. When you have a less mobile DPS, it's easier for the Winston to get onto you. Looks like he wants to do just that. They also swapped to the Ramattra, could potentially be good. Actually, a little double jump there, thanks to Task 21 and Morassi doing a lot of movement there. And there's the nano boost from Morassi onto Task 21 on the Sojourn. Not going to be a lot happening, just trying to dissuade any sort of pushing from the side of the group. Manages to do just that with no ultimates remaining. And in this next few fights, except for potentially primal rage from Wild Viking in the future, it's be difficult to see how these fights are going to be won by the Dragons. Like we talked about, their neutral play on the side of the group is very, very strong. Morassi though does find a flank onto the Ash and the Lucio, but manages to use that upgraded E to pull them in, but instantly falls to Bugatti because it's a hit scan player. However, while that was happening, Wild Viking managed to give a spear onto the enemy tank. But as intended, gets to play back on Task 21 with only no DPS remaining. Moorhead are going to be first. Will they find Wild Viking on the way out like they always have? They will not. Or potentially if Wild Viking keeps trying to hang out. Misses a couple right clicks. Just well done though. Manages to live. Morassi looking for a little bit of a barrage there on the top. Spotted out by the Lucio though. Lucio on that wall ride again. Easy to spot them out. Wild Viking looking for a jump onto the backline there, sees both of the backliners together. There's Bob just trying to use his point defensively, and as well as the Ramattra Nemesis mode, tries to get as much damage as possible. Wild Viking falls to 34 health, but manages to find the mini health packs. Just barely able to live for as long as he can. And with no problem, meaning it's getting difficult for the Ruse to defend against his next push that's coming. Voracity has access to the barrage very, very soon. He'll be going up to the high ground potentially here. There's the dynamite from the Ashe. Enemy tank falls low. There's a continued rush on the side of Azintendi. And there's Voracity looking for any sort of thing they have able to find us. Finds only one with the barrage, but Jotaro Kujo with the turret is able to answer back. Wild Viking activates the promulgation, whip from the lava, and manages to get a kill onto Jotaro Kujo. All that's left is Lucio, who's going to be able to try the wall line out of everything, out of harm's way. Manages to do just so. Gets back onto the point to try and contest for as long as possible. Not going to be able to do it for very long because of the fact that there's just too many bodies. 1 minute, 59 seconds remaining. Are Azintendi and the enemy Ashe able to fend off the push for long enough? Potentially not. Dundus is the only one remaining with the ultimate. Manages to get back, but it's not enough. Beautiful overclock here from TAS21. Forces them off the point. 1 minute, 51 seconds. That's 3 points for the Dragons. Very well done.
0 to 3. Switching sides. Initiating match.
All right, moving into this next round here. Moorhead are going to be on the defense, so potentially we're going to be seeing some of the same compositions that we've been seeing. But if they stay on that Ashe, which I think they're probably assuming a Pharah is going to come again, they might go to a hit scan, which again, as we know, is actually kind of Winston's deal. He wants you to bait. He wants to bait you into going hit scan because they have no mobility, and so Winston's able to jump on them very easily. There's the Pharah again. Pugatti though chooses the Pharah as opposed to a traditional hit scan. And there it is. There's the Cassidy from Pagadi trying to answer against Voracity's Pharah that had been so devastating that first round. Zeph opts for the Diva, and Dundas goes for the
Not a
Brig.
fan of your
Now,
home
Brig
team,
is
huh?
going to be useful
Don't
because it's
put
able to
words
try
in
and get
my
a little bit
mouth.
brawly with the enemy tank, and the same reason is why Jotaro Kujo opts for the Reaper. Maybe not, goes for the Torbjorn instead.
It's harder
And
to
so
keep you alive
the
when
enemy
you're
team's
strapped.
goal is to shoot the Pharah out of the
Good
air
to
at
see
all
you.
costs possible. So they have Juno and Cassidy and Diva all looking to find the Pharah. But while that's happening, Wild Viking jumping on your back. You can see how that all works out into this team comp.
Objective A.
Voracity gets some early poke. Brigitte puts up a shield, as is expected. Looks like the Ruse are looking for an outside hit onto the point. Fast hit. Oh, maybe going into the room. There's Voracity, gets instantly used by the defense matrix, and Diva is going onto Voracity at maximum speed. Manages to find with the rocket boost the kill onto Voracity. Wild Viking forced to drop down. Diva going onto the enemies, onto our supports though. Not able to find any kills though. But what they do find is point progress extremely fast. Now, Dragons need to answer back or fall back immediately. Looks like that's what they're opting to do, and in very little time, in almost under 30 seconds, the Ruse already have secured the first point. And Diva getting a kill onto Voracity on the Pharah was critical for that fight. So Voracity switches to the Ashe, a character who's burned to make it through Diva's defense matrix, potentially trying to counterpick their tank. And there's Pugatti, falling to low health with no roll available. Trying to get an answer back to the Wild Vikings, but unable to. Sam looking for some damage. Is he going to be caught on the clap round? No, he is not. Learning from the mistakes from last round. There's the High Noon. Instantly, the grenade is eaten by the defense matrix. High Noon is worn off just now. Now we're back in fair. Voracity gets a kill onto the turret of Jotaro Kujo and falls a little bit low on the Diva, but the Juno is able to heal it back. There's Voracity looking for any sort of shots they're able to find, but not really too much to be found. Nano boost available on Voracity as well as overclock on the side. There's a nano boost onto Wild Viking on the Winston, looking for as much damage as physically possible. And a beautiful anti-nade here from Voracity finds all of the enemy team purple and tries to get a kill onto the baby Diva who's left without a mech. Does manage to get a kill with Emanon. All that's left to do is clean up the remains. Viking there, just looking for some ultimate charge back. Has fully charged the Primal Rage. It's difficult for the Ruse to answer back. Kujo getting shot quite a few times from Voracity. Spots out the turret, but takes too much damage to be able to keep it again. Goes up to the high. Dundas does have access to that rally, and Death is building up that Diva Bomb very, very slowly. There's the overclock from TAS21. Getting as much damage as humanly possible, trying to dissuade them from using that rally to its full effectiveness. Diva tries to go in to get as much as he can, eats that Sojourn E with that defense matrix, but with no defense matrix remaining, it's actually good. Nah, the whale's just not enough to kill the Cassidy. Wait on the side of Wild Viking, and there's Bob from Voracity, just trying to get as much point presence as possible. Instantly shot out of the sky from Pagatti. pulls back into the room. Nobody dies to the bomb. Very well done. The enemy would die to the squish. That's the real question. No, they do not. Wild Viking activates Primal Rage. Going out to the backline. Jodo Kujo is caught looking at the wall. And there's a Cassidy as well. Nice little jump from Wild Viking. All that's left is the Juno. Juno does have access to be able to fly. Shot out of the sky from Wild Viking. Nice little triple kill from Wild Viking. He is forced to retreat. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Make sure to stay hydrated, everyone. Bugatti does have access to the High Noon, and Jodo Kujo on the Toy Gun has access to that molten core. Or the, yeah. What's that gonna really do here? There's the High Noon, getting a little bit of damage reduction, pulls back Taz21, just barely survives. He still is active and no longer is it active, and enemy's death has swapped to the Winston, looking for some of that ball presence that Wild Viking has. And there's the nano boost. Nundas is left, pretty much looking at the wall, not able to find anything. Jodo Kujo is forced to try and take a fight that is not very beneficial for him, and Vorasi forces the enemy tank back to the spawn room. This has been an absolute masterclass in how to hold a corner from the side of the Dragons. They use one ult per fight, and they win the fight. And whenever they use an ult, we use an ult. Zeph does get a kill onto Emanon. This is early, player advantage on the side of the Ruse. And it looks like we're going to have to retreat. Wild Viking forced to jump out because Taz21 falling means it's a 2-player disadvantage for the Dragon. Well done here from the Ruse. Vorasi gets absolutely jumped on by the enemy Winston and falls as well. It's probably going to be guaranteed point unless there's a miracle to be had from Wild Viking and the Dragons. Tries to get onto the point. There it is! The beat comes as well. Tries to get as much damage as possible. The Orbital Ray is also done. A massive purple from Vorasi finds all of them without the healing that Orbital Ray is supposed to be providing. Jack gets a melee kill on the Taz21, who's trying to defend the point with all the ultimates that are able to. Dundas, though, on the Brigitte, is able to push them back. All that remains is Wild Viking. Is it going to be enough? Potentially not. Wild Viking has access to Primal Rage, keeps as much health as possible. Has to make sure to stay on the point to not deny this objective. And look at that, there it is! Oh my goodness, the C9 just barely happened. 1.24 meters is all that remains, and the rally is able to come out. Tries to force them back. Zeph gets a kill onto Vorasi, but Taz21 finds an back on Zeph. Vorasi activates Bomb to try and contest the point, but it barely misses. Bomb is not on the point for any longer, and there's the pillow just barely pushed, and all that remains is Taz21, who manages to secure the kill. All that's left is Vorasi, and the Bob, the missed Bob, finds the final kill onto Pagani. A push stopped in a fight won from the Dragons. Insanely well done. Zeph, 98% of the Primal Rage, but at this point, is it too little too late? Vorasi is fully built up almost his nano boost. Could potentially be absolutely devastating in a future fight. It's called Taz21, looking for any sort of damage that they can find. Not finding too much. Wild Viking goes onto the enemy soldier who's left up a paddle without a creek, and the Lucio tries to protect him, but it's not going to be enough. And there's the nano boost onto Wild Viking on the Winston. Just going to get a lot of damage if possible. Jumps up to the backline, finds the Torbjorn, pretty much with no supports remaining. Torbjorn and Sojourn both die, and with no damage frontline, all that's left is the Winston to try and fight. Primal Rage is not going to be enough. You're able to shoot as much heals as you want, but with no damage, no kills come. And there's the Torbjorn ultimate the Torbjorn upgrade. Tries to keep the turret at tier 3. That's a new perk again. Dundas is going to fall a little bit low there, but Emanon has fully built up that beat again. It's going to be hard for the Ruse to answer back when the beat is always online. As they say in Hairspray, you can't stop the beat. And so we're going to be moving on to this next fight here. Wild Viking does activate Primal Rage onto the Lucio, who's instantly cleansed away by the enemy Kiriko. And with both of the points in the room, it's going to be difficult for them to answer back. And there's a nice jump onto the enemy Kiriko, as well as the Torbjorn who are falling. Lucio, with all that remains, tries to wall gun out, but with no time on the clock, 3 seconds remaining on this point. Zeph is forced to retreat. Jodo Kujo with a massive molten core finds 2. It's all that's left is Vorasi. There's the beat from Dundas, tries to protect the point for as much as he can, but Vorasi is all that's left, and they fall. Oh my goodness gracious, 1 minute 28 seconds. Their dream is not dead yet for the Ruse. Really well done. Wild Viking does manage to find a lot of damage onto the enemy Sojourn, but it's going to be healed back by the Kiriko. Pagani finds a nice little rail kill onto Emanon. We're forced to retreat. 1 minute 14 seconds remaining. One fight remaining. Pagani with that rail is a deadly laser beam. He finds kill after kill after kill. We need to reset. Find a good fight onto this point. We will always have more time remaining going into the next fight if we need to, but it's going to be difficult. Wild Viking has no ultimate. Taz21 has the overclock relatively shortly, and the Bob is coming up as well. Here's the nano boost online from Vorasi. When is it going to be used? Who's it going to be used on? Sojourn just misses the shot. Wild Viking goes in. There's the nano boost onto Wild Viking. Wild Viking jumps onto the back line, looking for some of the signature kills that we come to know. Dundas just barely manages to get out with the wall ride, and nice healing, just barely keeps Wild Viking alive. Falls to 70, 130 health, and there's Bob trying to contest the point for as much as possible, but again, the bomb falls a little bit past the point. Instantly shot up by Zep. Kiriko forced to use Suzu, and now here's a chance for a nice little anti-grenade from the side of Barassi. There it is, right onto the, what's it called? Lamatra. Lucio falls, takes that anti-grenade. Nice sleep there from Barassi. Finds Zep. Pretty much nowhere to be found. All that remains is 2 DPS and a support. Here it goes. Is it going to be enough to heal it? There's the overclock from Pagani. All we have to do is keep that. Nice purple from Barassi. Finds Wild Viking getting a kill onto 2 of them remaining. With 3 seconds left, the Lucio is all that's left. Is there a miracle here to be found? The Torbjorn is all that remains, and the ultimate is just not used. That's it for Numbani. Going in the favor of the Dragons. Absolute masterclass in how to hold a point. A little bit scary there. Both teams played team fights amazingly, almost to perfection. I think what truly made the difference this game was that Farah. I think Barassi was able to utilize it more effectively than Pagani was. I think that was really something that was able to force them onto the Ash, onto the hit scan, and force them left in Winston's clutches. Really well done by both teams. We're gonna go to a be right back screen so we can make sure we indicate who won. The score is currently 1-1. Both teams are tied going into this Flashpoint map. Again, like we said, Flashpoint, very difficult map because not only does it combine some of the dynamicness of these push maps, but it also combines a lot of the strategy of the point maps, because you know this map, you know these corners, and you have to play around these corners because the point never moves until it does. Then you have to be ready to be rotating to a different point, and at the same time constantly fighting the enemy team. Very difficult are these, what's it called?
You check out the new Antler
Are
album?
these Flashpoint maps.
Yeah. So, what'd you think?
Oh, nobody uses 15 electric guitars like those guys.
Looks like we're opting for, again, very comfort pick characters, right? Pagani is on the Symmetra, but that will be turning into a Sojourn, almost guaranteed. Seth stays on the Lamatra, Wild Viking stays on the Winston, but Warasti, notably on the Farah. I apologize. Farah is able to really shoot them out of the sky, and again, forces them onto that hit scan. See how they respond to it. That's the one. First to make contact is Wild Viking. Sojourn, just waiting and walking up, even though again it really doesn't do too much damage though. Wild Viking looking for a pick onto the Sojourn early, but the rail is sort of just barely forces him off. This one has to be sneaking up behind them, looking for as much damage as possible. Forces the Sojourn off of the high ground. He's falling down, targets them. The Wild Viking taking a lot of damage, no shield remaining, and the healers dodge just enough there. Taz21 gets a nice little pick onto Azentendes, but Veracity falls in trade, and Taz21 with no supports remaining except for Emanon is forced to retreat. Veracity just barely doesn't make it to the Mega Health Pack, and Wild Viking hits his head on the top of the ceiling. I think what we saw is that they were just better at holding down that space. Like we said, their neutral game is absolutely not something to be messed with. But if we're able to get a couple good ultimate combos, they can really snowball into a victory for the side of Dragon. And goes, tries to get onto the Sojourn, but just not enough damage there. Sojourn has a lot of supports behind them. Warassi though, didn't even notice. Finds a kill onto Dundas on the Lucio and forces the Sojourn off the high ground one more time. Warassi falls under 100 health, but isn't healed just yet. Healed up there by Barassi. Very well done. Wild Viking forcing a lot of them off the thing. Lamont activates Nemesis mode, shoots through that shield. Nemesis mode notably does go through shield. Falls to 27 health and barely lives. Taz21 getting a Sojourn versus Sojourn kill onto Pagani. Wild Viking just getting as much healing as possible, and the point goes in favor of the Dragons. Again, it's only 78%, so again, this combines what we were seeing in Ilios, where it's about contesting a point and really making sure that you're playing to the strength of your team, playing around ultimates. At the same time, as this game moves forward, we're going to see that it turns into a much more dynamic. There's a continuing rush from Azentendes on the Kiriko, but Forasti getting a lot of damage there, has the, what's it called, Rampage very shortly, and the beat as well, popped by Dundas. That's 2 support ultimates in one fight from the side of the Bruise. They really want this point. Wild Viking trying to get onto Azentendes, doesn't really find that the May is also extremely low. No ice block remaining. All that's left is a tank. Tries to protect himself, but there's the overclock from Pagani on the Sojourn. Forced to fall down to low ground. Manages to get the mega health back. So does Ramattra. The point maintained. Dragon control. To get a kill onto the Lucio as he's retreating. 82% still remaining on the side of the point. For a kill in Task 21, unable to find it. There's Nemesis mode, gets a lot of shield back, but the healing from Veracity is just able to keep Task 21 alive for enough time to get a kill onto that Ramattra. And there's Veracity again, just chasing down the enemy supports, manages to find the mega health back, but is not able to get any of the benefits there, and pushed back to their spawn are the supports on the side of the Ruse. But they do have access to Annihilation from Ramattra, so could potentially be strong. See how that all works out. Wild Viking here taking a little bit of poke damage here from the side, but Veracity is going to be able to heal it back. Emanon, very, very passive healing on Veracity. Wild Viking looking for a jump onto the enemy backline, spots out the Sojourn and the Mei. Still have not found this Ramattra though. There he is on the high ground. For a sleep, misses the purple onto the Ramattra, and there's Veracity with a nice little barrage, finds Lucio, but the Mei activates Ice Block to barely live, pushes themselves away, tries to get a little bit more in an advantageous duel. Nice kill from Veracity, very, very good micro play there. Also secures the kill onto the Ramattra. All that's left is the Sojourn who's trying to dash away, but nice, a triple kill from Veracity. Well done by Veracity. Again, that Pharah is extremely critical in this matchup. Like we were talking about, when they don't have a real hit scan except for the Sojourn rails, a character like Pharah, especially on these open maps like Flashpoint, is able to dominate. Jotaro Kujo forced to completely rescind the Blitzer that they had built up and go for the Torbjorn to try and answer back before this map is too late. Definitely a lot of damage here from Task 21 and Veracity. 21 still notably has access to Overclock. There it is, Overclock activated, but is instantly shot out of the sky with a nice headshot whale from Pagani on the server. Purple onto the Ramattra, not able to be answered back properly. But Kiriko falls low, no teleport, and Kiriko's gonna die to Wild Viking though. It's gonna be very difficult. There's the Annihilation popped by the enemy Ramattra, but answered back with the Primal Rage from Wild Viking. Tries to get on to the Torbjorn, but when you have so much more health than that, it doesn't really matter. Wild Viking's just gonna completely tank the turret, break it eventually. And Jotaro Kujo is left turretless as the Torbjorn. Could use a hammer, potentially, but Jotaro Kujo is going to fall to Wild Viking as well. Death swaps to an Orisa, a character we have not yet seen in this series. Could potentially be good for locking down Wild Viking with that spear from Orisa. Dundas and Pagani are close to their ultimates, so we could potentially look at a 3 ultimate combo here relatively shortly. But with Veracity almost built up that barrage, always have to be watching the skies, and if all that's doing is your Torbjorn turret, it can be difficult to answer back. Wild Viking looking for a little bit of damage here. There's a continuing rush from Attendees, and here's the barrage, tries to find Pagani, just doesn't do it. Kiriko shoots him out of the sky, and even with that new perk allowing you to move, not enough, but you didn't even notice. Moorhead took the flashpoint. Under the noses of the Ruse, with 2 ultimates used, Moorhead takes the flashpoint. Because that's not what it's about. It's not about getting killed. This is not a push map. It is about taking points. And 2 points to 0, difficult for the Ruse to come back, but not yet impossible. Pagani still has access to that overclock. When will it be used? Potentially soon. Task 21 is 40% to the overclock, actually 45%, builds up very quickly. And Wild Viking is 34% to his Primal Rage, but that's not too important. Wild Viking falls extremely low. Shields tries to heal himself. He does nice right click there. Their supports were not watching their Orisa. They thought because Orisa was in her stance that she was taking a lot of damage, she was not. Doing a lot of damage to the Wild Viking. Shields himself, tries to get a little bit of healing there. One of those new perks that allows Winston to shield and heal himself in the shield. Kiriko falls to Task 21 with a beautiful rail, and that 22% that the Ruse have generated is going to be for not Wild Viking's going to secure an extra frag as well. Zep on the Diva, a last second hope to try and get to point as fast as possible. With 10%, it is a 90-second clock that is ticking. Here's Wild Viking for a little bit of poke damage. Veracity going over them, pulls them in. Don't think they necessarily know that you probably close the primary fire before you do so. I don't know that for sure. Diva forced to go back, no more rocket boost. And there's the nano boost onto Wild Viking. Looks for the Sojourn. Sojourn is able to find the health pack, but nice little tracking from Wild Viking is ordered to able to secure the kill. Wild Viking pulls back to their team just because they saw the molten core, need to pull back to try and heal for their supports. Extremely good awareness. And looks for a kill onto Kiriko, has Primal Rage. Kiriko with no teleport remaining, has to use the Suzu to try and save himself, is able to do so. Diva is booped away by Emanon, and Jotaro Kujo finds a kill onto Task 21 as reprieve. Barassi, 94% to that barrage. Something to always be aware of. There's the continuing rush. This is something, a pattern that we've seen many times. The continuing rush into the barrage from Barassi. Will it be used? D.Va, no defense matrix available. Has to take the D.Va out of the sky. And Barassi falls instead. Icarus flew too close to the sun. Too high in the air. The toy turret was doing too much damage. Wild Viking falls as well. But with 3 ultimates, almost 4 on the line for the Dragons, might be able to do one last fight. But oh my goodness, Zeph activates the D.Va bomb. Too little, too late. D.Va with no ultimate could potentially not be very good for the side of the Ruse. It'll be difficult here. Or maybe just followed a mech. I couldn't tell. Barassi still has access to that barrage. They're at the 40% 2 nano boost, but probably not going to be used for this final fight here on this point. Wild Viking needs to go in as soon as possible, find the turret and take it out. And there's the overclock, finds Kiriko, and there's the primal rage. D.Va left with very little resources, and there's the beat from the enemy Lucio trying to help them save themselves. Barassi gets a nice little kill with the barrage, and Wild Viking looking for the Sojourn on the Winston. Just force them into the team, and there's the beat from Emanon trying to save himself, and the overclock is met with a fist to the face from Wild Viking. All of a sudden, the D.Va and the Lucio trying to protect the point, and to protect this map. And no, it is not enough, but under the noses of the Dragons, they steal the flag. That's exactly what we saw last point. Again, this is not a game about kills. It is a game about points. It's a game about strategy. When you bloodthirst for kills, you leave the real gold kind. 1-2. The Ruse are not yet out of this fight. This is an amazing game, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Going into this next fight, Wild Viking gets a little bit of a jump onto the D.Va, but rocket boosts away. He's past 21, looking for a little bit of damage. And so Rail just barely misses everything. And there's damage boost onto Wild Viking, getting as much damage as humanly possible, but the Sojourn overclock is able to try and meet that, and Viking dies. They do actually swap to the Cassidy, trying to deal with the Pharah. Do they know that Cassidy is to the left side yet, or the right side? I apologize. They do. There's Cassidy on the point. D.Va bomb is met with mixed reviews, forced to use it in the room, and D.Va bomb is now out of the fight. But D.Va ultimate was never really about using it to kill, it's about using it to zone them. It's a zoning ult, as they would always say. Forcing them out of that room was critical because what it does is it gives you space to try and further, further advance your plan, further advance your position. The Tortured and the Cassidy is going to essentially force Barassi off of the Pharah. How long are we going to remain on the Monk in the air? Barassi looking for a little bit of a flank hit onto the Torbjorn. Injures the spot, a little bit of damage there. Almost falls off the map, but just barely does it, probably because of the blue card. Barassi again just looking for poke damage, 82% to that barrage, but nothing insane yet. Viking needs some healing from the team, but jumps onto the Torbjorn, uses the primal rage, tries to secure the Torbjorn as the first pick of the fight. Torbjorn is not dying yet though, the Kiriko is too much, and there's the beat from the enemy Lucio, gonna keep them in this fight. Pagani finds a nice little headshot onto Stat 21, and Death gets it straight back onto Barassi on the Pharah. Barassi is going to be forced to switch very, very shortly here, and Wild Viking, after using his primal rage, is going to be essentially stuck with nothing left. Barassi seen his spawn, contemplating whether to switch, and does. Switches to the Ashe with 90% remaining on this point. Is it going to be too much for the Dragons to handle? It's 2-2, going into our final flashpoint here with 3 ultimates on the side of the Ruse, and only 2 potentially on the side of the Dragons. But with a potential composition switch, with Cassidy going into an Ashe, it's going to be difficult for them to answer back. And there's the orbital laser, but a nice little purple from Barassi finds him without the healing that would have provided. The high noon doesn't find anything, but Zeph does find a kill on Wild Viking, who's been shot down low after the high noon. Zeph gets a nice little triple kill here. All that's up to Barassi, who's trying to protect himself, but Intensities gets a nice kill with the Juno. The Flashpoint hasn't even unlocked yet, but what have you noticed? The Ruse are down 2 ultimates. How many are the Dragons down? 0. So, could potentially be good because the Flashpoint has still not yet unlocked and they have used 2 out of their 4 ultimates that they have available. They are so close to the D.Va having their bomb again, and Jotaro Kujo with the Molten Core is still available, but going into a nano overclock, not something you want to be seeing necessarily, especially with beat being used that early into the fight. Viking getting a little bit of poke damage, trying to find whatever they can. Here's Ashe. Finds a headshot off the Cassidy. Not able to secure the kill though. Fully charged Whale, not yet there. 95. And there's the Wanda boost onto the Winston, tries to find as much as they can. Hindered instantly by Cassidy, but it's too much damage. The Juno is not able to survive. With no more support ultimates remaining, like you said, they used him a lot this last fight. All that's left is Lucio to die to the hands of the Dragon. And all they used was Wanda boost. Now they still have Overclock and Primal Rage. Look at the ultimate economy. That's just what we were talking about in that first 2 maps. When it comes to neutral play, the Ruse have us absolutely wiped off the floor. But in ultimate economy usage, the Dragons might have a slight advantage here. Remember, we saw that fight. The point hadn't even unlocked. You need 2 ultimates to dissuade us from going forward anymore. Wild Viking, 97%, 99 to that Primal Rage. Gonna try and get on their backline as soon as humanly possible here, but no support on ultimates except for the beat that's coming very shortly from Emanon. Only Lucio looking for a little bit of poke damage. There's Ash, tries to get a grenade. Only one, forced to fall off of high ground. The other able to get the healing onto Ash, but is able to do it eventually. There's the D.Va Bomb, and Wild Viking is in full Primal Rage. Gets a kill onto the Juno. All of the Torpedo tries to shotgun his way out of it, but Wild Viking is just going to be doing too much damage. Cassidy uses the high noon. Oh, I mean, just barely falls to Wild Viking on the Winston, and Seth falls off the map, trying to get back with the team, trying not to stagger for this last fight of the game. Oh, but no, what we talked about. You still have the beat, and you still have the bomb. With only high noon remaining, how will the Roos answer? They will not. Map number 3 nap number 3 goes to the Dragons. Very, very well done from both teams. But when it comes to ultimate economy, you can't beat the Dragons at their own game. Wild Viking secures play of the game. Really good counter pick jobs by both teams, actually. Really interesting seeing them not just pick their comfort characters for the entire game, but you got to see some Cassidy, you got to see some Ash, you got to see some Pharah. Very, very well done from everybody, and an absolute nail biter with 3-2 on the maps. Absolutely very well done from both teams, and it's a very even match. We're going to go to the BRB screen. Thank you all for showing up so far. Match here shortly. Get excited, everyone. It's 2-1. It's an absolute nail biter of a game. Waiting for the match to officially start, so please don't ignore the picks that we've seen so far. But welcome to Esperanza. Esperanza is a map that we've seen a lot of these teams play. I think they prefer it again over Coliseo. Coliseo is a very coin-flippy map. It's a very difficult map to know who's going to win. But Esperanza, I believe, is a real test of skill. Because you combine large open areas like this with long sight lines, and you get Widowmakers, you get Pharahs, you get Echoes potentially even, you get Wrecking Balls who spin round and round and round this tower. How are teams going to go? Or are we just going to be seeing same old from both teams? Still up to be determined. Looks like the answer is going to be same old from both teams. So I think they're actually expecting a potential Pharah choice, because they opted for the D.Va as opposed to a Ramattra, which I might believe they're more comfortable with. And Ramattra has a much more powerful combat ultimate than D.Va. But you never know until you get into the game and find out. Alright, here's Wild Viking taking on to Winston as per usual.
Let's get this done.
Alright. Viking getting some early reconnaissance here. Not too much. Sozo tries to get up top, tries to match the enemy Sojourn as well. Some headshots here, but no real damage done. Now the Sojourn has committed fully to a rail just yet. Wild Viking looking for a little bit of early damage, but not able to find anything. Here's Taz21. Nice little deflect on the rail there. Really good timing. Well done by Taz21. But remember, this is a game about pushing a robot, so who's going to be the first to take first blood on the robot push job? Viking looking to get there. Looks like it's going to be the enemy Lucio Dundas trying to take that robot into Moorhead's hand. Wild Viking taking lots and lots of fire from the D.Va and the Reaper there. No supports in hand though. Forced to fall back to the healing. It is safe. Taz21 falls critically low there. Has to go up to the Reaper, but forced to wraith out. Wild Viking falls down to the low ground looking for some early damage. Here's their asses. Nice heals in as per usual. For a nice rail. Not built yet. But looking at ultimates, Verassi is all you built up the nano boost. Here it is going on with Wild Viking. Forced to teleport away to Kiriko, but D.Va with no ultimate remaining on that is forced to die. Dundas is also going to fall very soon after that, and with only one person on the bridge remaining, he's going to be falling as well. Nice kill from Wild Viking. Also up to Kiriko. But Verassi takes away from Wild Viking. No quadra kill here for you, Wild Viking. Ultimate charge is looking heavily in the favor, and again, there we go, the swap to Ramattra, like we were talking about, potentially a more powerful combat ultimate, as well as a comfort choice from Zep. Pagani has fully built up that overclock, and they're coming through that room, but we don't hear them. And that's Nano Boost already used. There's the teleport here. Nice little sleep here from the Ana, and beautiful defense from Taz21 are pretty much going to negate all of the damage that Pagani was going to be doing with that overclock. Wild Viking's going to fall back. giving them a little bit of access to the point, but making sure that the team stays alive and stays together. 92% to the Dragon Blade and 84% to the what's it called, Primal Rage. Voracity dives to Zeph on the Ramattra, but he goes up high. Doesn't have access to that Dragon Blade. Not going to use just yet, but AZN Tendies is going to fall. He taps anyone on the Genji, healing and be traded back by Zeph. And there's the Primal Rage. Activates, trying to get a secure kill onto Ramattra or the Reaper, but the beat is just able to protect him for just long enough. But Wild Viking looks to get to the point, trying to make sure that they maintain priority on that robot, but it falls into the hands of the Wolves.
The enemy's pushing. Let's take care of them.
There's Task 21, fully built up beat, as well as an overclock, and both supports have almost already built up their ultimates already. Notice how Voracity, an early nano boost, can actually lead to potentially a more advantageous game state than if you had not used it and just saved it for a different fight. Because now at this point, Voracity has already built up a second nano boost. Could potentially be game changing. It won them a fight last time. What's to say it won't win it again? Potentially Reaper on that Death Blossom. You never know. But there's an nano boost, like we said. Here it is, essentially the exact same situation. Booped him instantly off of high ground by Lucio, but one more jump available, and Kirito is going to be forced to teleport away back to their team. Falling extremely low, but Wild Viking not able to fight with the secondary fire and forced to fall back. 86 health. Voracity secures a nice little kill on the Ana.
Rescue that robot.
Misses a couple shots onto Wild Viking. But Overclock is fully charged from Voracity, falls to 68 health, needs to hand the health back because the supports are not just yet there to help. There it is, Ana is able to help him enough. Wild Viking does fall to Picati, but there's the Overclock here from Voracity. And is able to crown. No headshots just yet. Nothing too much, and the shields here from Zeph is able to protect just long enough. Task 21 dashes out, able to live just barely by the skin of his chinny chin chin. Maintains access to that Dragon Blade. Potentially be seeing a Dragon Blade beat combo here relatively shortly. There's the Death Blossom from Jodo on Reaper. Going to be getting a kill onto Evan on his Zeph with that Nemesis bow. Gets Task 21 as well. But no ultimates used on the side of either of them. No Ajax is here. However, the Druids do maintain access to the forward spawn because they have pushed the point past that halfway mark. What that means is that they're going to have a little bit of a more difficult time with the Dragon getting major kills and major player advantages next time we fight, unless we're able to push it back to that center point. There's the Dragon Blade. Kirito forced to Suzu out and instantly falls. Looks for the Reaper, unable to find it, not finding anything here. Sojourn falls as well after using that overclock. Sojourn's going to be dead very shortly here, and the Reaper's forced to wraith out. Pagani with no ultimate charges, pretty much left stranded, and a nice little kill from Voracity gets a double for them, and it's going to be pretty much guaranteed pushing this robot past that halfway point. However, they do have forward spawn. Dundus with the nice rollout might be able to make it back to point in time in order to make sure that their team still maintains forward spawn, but asleep on from Ana keeps the Reaper in check. There is the midpoint. Forward spawn has been lost. There's Voracity. A lot of damage being done by that Sojourn. There's the Kitsune Rush, but is it going to be enough? Voracity being built with a lot of damage with this rail. Well, critically low, but a nice little purple here from Voracity finds the enemy tank with no healing. Emenon falls in trade, though. Attendee gets a nice little kill there. Task 21 with a nice dash, and then Wild Viking secures the kill on Pagani. Very well done. Has full access to the Primal Rage, but Luchez chooses to go for the two supports with no supports remaining. It's pretty much going to be a guaranteed fight here for the Dragons. Going to be able to push it past that point, getting forward spawn for the Dragons as opposed to them. Let's look at the ultimate charges. We have a beat and an annihilation versus a primal rage and an overclock. Now overclock's a combat ultimate, which means it's going to be used in order to get killed. However, primal rage potentially just used to disrupt enemy teams and make sure that crosshairs are not looking at the overclocking Sojourn. So here's Sojourn. No ultimate just yet. Task 21 playing anticipation here. Viking just maintaining point presence here. Well, Zeph is going up, trying to get as much damage as possible. Nice little anti-nade from Voracity. Force Zeph with no heal. There's the annihilation, and the beat as well. The beat goes through the anti-nade, and we're going to have to fall back off of that. Zeph gets a kill with the annihilation onto Emenon, but Viking with the primal rage gets a kill on the point. Try and fall back, make sure the point's still contested. It's a Kiriko, but jumps right over their heads. Down, Ramattra again, that shoots two shields, pulls him out of it. Looks at the Kiriko, potentially trying to find a kill here. Unable to. Kiriko just teleports out, and Zeph gets a kill onto Voracity with the Nemesis mode. And Jojo Kujo onto Wild Viking, just with Reaper's dual shotgun. Emenon does. Oh, sorry, that's Dundus. I apologize. AZN Tendies finds a kill onto Task 21, putting them back in the lead. 3 minutes and 17 seconds remaining. A lot of time in this map. Push games are 8 minutes at maximum, which means a lot of time and a lot of games to be played. However, Jodo Kujo with that Death Blossom is already built. Misclick here from Voracity. Unlucky. While Viking goes in to try and support their support. Task 21 falls a lot of damage there from Lamatra. Wild Viking jumps on to try and get a kill onto the soldier, but it's not enough. Emanon does manage to secure a kill though. Nice little kill there from Emanon with a headshot. Wild Viking and the enemy Lamatra are in essentially just a tank off. Seems to do better as the tank. But Taz21 in the meantime is getting a kill on Kujo on the Reaper. Nice little E on the soldier and finds Lucio pretty much trapped in a non-stop stream of damage, but Lucio amps it up, trying to heal himself, but a nice anti-grenade from Veracity secures the kill, preventing the healing that would have been done. Veracity getting an absolute rampage there, and Emanon getting the kills. The supports are putting in more work than the DPS, and the overclock Veracity is saving for next game, but could potentially be good, because with only 2 ultimates available on the side of the Ruse, actually 3 soon, gonna be difficult. We're gonna need to have as many ultimates as we need. Emanon has beat very soon, which is a very good defensive ult for when they eventually use that continuing rush overclock or the what's it called, death blossom. Dragon Blade as well on Taz21 could potentially be used to assassinate a key target such as Kirito or Sojourn. And there's an mana boost onto Wild Viking, and the death blossom secures a kill onto 2 supports. What? Trade. Wild Viking gets a nice little kill onto AZN Tendies, and Taz21 absolutely dashing around their backline, has access to Dragon Blade. Is it going to be used? Swap back to the ground by the Gamache lead. Wild Viking gets trapped there, and no, it is not. Bugatti gets a nice little kill onto Taz21 with the rail. All that's left is Wild Viking to try and protect the point, but is it going to be enough? Wild Viking is forced to fall back. They still maintain access to that point presence, and all of their ultimates are still available except for the Death Blossom. That Death Blossom in our backline was absolutely devastating, and really well done by Jotaro Kujo in order to prevent us from having any sort of chance at having a chance of having a fight next time. Primal Rage already built from Wild Viking. Needs to be used shortly, otherwise it is essentially a wasted ability. Nice headshot onto Bugatti, but unable to find enough damage to get into the and onto Death on the Lamatra, but the healer's there with them. Pulling healers away from the rest of the team. There's a bunch of ultimates being used on the side of the Ruse. They're using 3 ultimates, continuing rush, overclock, and beat. All that the Moorhead Dragons need to do is use no ultimate, and it should be pretty much even. Viking unable to secure a kill onto the enemy tank. And Nemesis mode is too powerful. Gives him a lot of shields as well as a good amount of damage reduction. Team kill here for the Ruse, but a lot of ultimates used as well. 3 ultimates used there in that last fight. In Kitsune Rush, Overclock, and Beat. But we maintain access to Beat, Overclock, and Dragon Blade. Could potentially be pivotal, but we need to be making sure we're not using our ultimates too frivolously because we still have at least 3 more fights going into this next point. If we want to have a chance of winning this game. Nice little purple finds the Lamatra, and there's the Dragon Blade from Taz21. Any damage going to be found is going to be immediately answered back with a beat from Emanon. Very well done, very well timed. The tank falls extremely low there. Nice little dash. How many ultimates we use there? 2 of them. So again, like we were saying, we need to make sure we're not using too many ultimates too quickly. Because if we use too many too fast, we won't have any for our upcoming fights. They have Annihilation available. But we are close to Nano Boost, which means the Winston is going to be able to do massive amounts of damage. Veracity still holding on to that overclock. It's been a long time, and so we're going to be able to see if they're going to be using it this game, or if we're going to be setting it for map 5. A little bit of poke damage there. Shield from Lamatra is broken.
This ends.
There's the overclock finally used, and it's going to be answered back with a nice little retreat from the enemy team. Nano Boost also onto the Winston, able to try and get as much damage as possible. Annihilation is going to be able to dissuade them off the point, but they need to make sure that we're not C9ing. So Wild Viking makes sure he's gluing himself to the point. Emanon needs to do the same and glue themselves to the point. Whereas he stays on the point there, trying to make sure that we're not C9ing. Kill onto Lucio, unable to find it. The Reaper gets a kill onto Wild Viking, and that is not 4. Going into the hands of the Ruse. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an amazing game on our hands. It is 2-2. We are on our 5th and final map, and it is a push or a payload map, which means no points, just pushing a payload until someone wins. Very interesting games, everyone. However, Moorhead does have the pick on the map, so could potentially put us at an advantage if we can go onto a map that we're comfortable and they're maybe not so comfortable with. But it's yet to be seen. Thank you all for showing up so far. I'll be indicating it as... Let's get into it right nice and quickly. So like we talked about, Watchpoint Gibraltar is a very much of a weird map state. It's got a very open 3rd point, and we'll fly through to our 2nd point, which, as I talked about, very closed off. Quite often you'll find that it's all about this area right here. Which team is able to control this catwalk and then this catwalk. We'll see how that plays out in the next few minutes. Finally, our first point, or I guess soon to be our first point. Here it is. Again, very open. So, looks like we are going to be seeing
Work together and we'll make it through.
Ash potentially to answer against a Pharah. Like we talked about Pharah and Widowmaker and other snipers of the sort. Very popular on this type of map. And so,
Mental
could
merit
potentially be interesting
not
to watch how that all
skill.
works out.
is a sign of a mature
We did
warrior.
get to see some more comfort picks on everybody. So Zeph does maintain that Diva, as well as Reaper from Jotaro Kujo, which has been very, very effective. Almost surgical at dismantling the offenses of the Dragons. So it's going to be interesting to see how we answer that going into the future. Potentially Ashe is our answer, but, you know, Bugatti gets a little bit of early damage here. Just waiting any early aggression from the Dragons. There's Wild Viking taking a full rail to the face. All of the all of the Roos are sitting up top ready for 21, and Wild Viking to jump down. And there is the Reaper, taking as much damage as physically possible. Task 21 falls back down, going to the point, trying to take point presence as much as possible. They're going to have to drop down onto us. Point obviously has googly eyes. April Fool's update, as you all know. Wild Viking looking for attempt to jump in onto the enemy team, but when the Ashe uses a grenade, what can you do? Gets a little bit of burn onto the Diva. That's kind of the Sojourn, unable to do so. Forced to coach Cannon. Meanwhile, Wild Viking is just doing nothing but pushing the point, which is all really something we want to do. Is boots away instantly from the high ground by the Lucio and the Diva, and nice shots from the Reaper are able to keep Wild Viking in check. Task 21 gets a little bit aggressive onto that high ground and does end up dying for it because of Dundas' amazing shot. Veracity falls close to falling to a rail. Thinks that they spot out someone up there. They do not. For the Sojourn, gets a nice little grenade, tries to find the headshot, not finding it. Sojourn stays crouched, gets healed by the Kiriko, full health. Sojourn has to fall back. That's Veracity. And here's Task 21 back on that deflect. Getting some damage they can. Reaper tries to teleport up, does manage to do so. Wild Viking again takes lots of damage from this Reaper and the Diva. These shotgun characters who like to be up close are extremely effective against Diva. Bugatti gets a little bit caught in the crossfire there, falls to Wild Viking. Little bit of an early player advantage here on the side of the Dragon. Really difficult. There's Bob already giving them 2 players advantage. Kiriko forced to use the Susan very early. No protection remaining. All that's left is the Reaper trying to do as much as he can without a wait. He's going to fall to the Bob. All that's left is the 2 that are in the room and the Kiriko who seems to be on point, falling to a nice little combo from the Ana break. Sojourn, who came back from the stagger earlier, is going to be trying to jump out, but takes a nice little right click from Winston to the face, jumps on her, and nice melee from Winston, secures the kill onto Bugatti, forcing a stagger onto their DPS, who is fully built up the ultimate charge. They're actually with a nice nano boost is available. And a nanoed Winston here, relatively shortly in our future. That's switches to the Winston from the Diva, is going to be instantly punished by Task 21. Viking goes in onto the Lucio, Task 21 secures another kill. This second point is an absolute sweep. Again, these inner areas are very important, and look at this. Wild Viking choosing to take control of that high ground as we were talking about. Very important here on these maps. What is Veracity doing right now? Okay, good. I thought they were emoting on the point. There's Wild Viking. Knocks them all out. Reaper getting a couple pot shots here. After 6 bullets, he's all out. Wild Viking jumps out. The reload. What's the DP? Rips it off, and there's the Primal Rage as an answer to the Sojourn ultimate. The beat comes from Dundas, getting them an extra little bit of time, but it's not going to be enough. Bugatti finds a kill onto Veracity because there's no ultimate from Emanon because they are on what's it called, Brig as opposed to the Lucio that they normally on. Task 21 Veracity are all that remains of the Moorhead defenses to try and protect them. Is it going to be enough? Probably not. Veracity's coming on back. Wild Viking still in the spawner. Get a lot of distance though, and at the cost of a DPS ult and a support ult in the overclock and the beat from the enemy team, you get a lot of progress only using Prime. And Bob, I apologize. He's harassing, first shot onto Kiriko, finds it, that's going to be cleansed relatively quick. There's the winner, onto Wild Viking, looking for damage on Bugatti, finds the right click, but not able to get the kill, and uses the right click to get the rest. A Reaper ultimate is instantly answered back by a sleep from Veracity, and Task 21 with the Dragon Blade manages to find 2. The Bob is still online, the Rally's still online, and Wild Viking is not yet fully built that Primal Rage. The second point is going faster and faster. How will the Room answer back? The Lucio tries to get on the point to try and contest, but it's not going to be enough. Open map. Zep is 90% essentially to that Primal Rage. If we get up close to the Dragons, it would be potentially devastating. And we are 84% to the continuing rush on the enemy team, but we still maintain access to our Rally as well as our Bob. Task 21, 8%. used that Dragon Blade earlier, so not much to be watching here. Veracity looking for potentially an angle to use a Bob, but not finding one just yet. Probably going to be using it as an answer to a Primal Rage or to a Kitsune Rush. But there it is, there's the Kitsune Rush. Where's the Bob? Not yet used. Instead, choosing to try and do as much damage as possible. And he's getting a deflex onto the Reaper. There's no more Wraith. No Bob, still yet to be seen. Voracity uses the Bob. There's the Bob. Tries to find a shot onto someone after the Bob lifts him up. Pagani doing too much damage. Voracity is going to be falling. Wild Viking tries to answer with a trade back. Are they going to be able to find it? No, they are not. Yes, they will be. I lied. Bob still maintains his life, though. And there goes Bob, unfortunately. They're getting a lot of damage onto Wild Viking. Forced to retreat. A lot of healing there left for Wild Viking, but the doors does stay open for a little bit longer, so it's going to be good. 90% to that Primal Rage, but Zeph has theirs as well. Could potentially be looking at Primal Rage for Primal Rage comparison. We're getting a lot of damage onto Wild Viking with nothing left. After he falls to low health, going to be instantly using that Primal Rage. But the enemy team is pushing our backline just like we would want to do. Nice shot from Boras. He tries to get thrown to Cujo, but the beat from the enemy Lucio is able to protect him for just enough time. Reaper does fall to Veracity with a nice little biotic grenade, but then just gets a headshot onto Veracity, getting a kill. Zeph with the Primal Rage answers back, hitting Veracity on the auto, but Wild Viking also answers with the Primal Rage of their own, getting Pagani with the Primal Rage as well. Zeph gets a kill onto Cat 21. Wild Viking gets a kill with Dundas. This is a Winston versus Winston secure battle, but who's going to come on top? Potentially the Winston with the Reaper on their side. Wild Viking has full charging up their primary fire, or secondary fire. Pagani still maintains access to that overclock. Wild Viking tries to get off the roof, gets away. Back to safety. Veracity has access to the Nano Boost. Could use it aggressively or could use it to answer the overclock. There it is. Aggressively used on Kiriko. Kiriko instantly retile pointing out, and there's the overclock from Pagani. Does Wild Viking know where they are? Yes, they do. With the overclock eliminated, going to be devastating for the Lose, and the Kitsune Rush coming on the side of Asian Tendies is not going to be enough. Very, very well played here from Wild Viking, able to pull a lot of the crosshairs there. So Veracity and TAS 21 are able to secure all those kills. TAS 21 has fully built that Dragon Blade. We're at 80% already to Bob, a potentially well played Dynamite. Could fully charge that up. Yoru and Cujo though, 90%, 99% to the what's it called, Death Blossom. Moorhead team needs to play a little bit carefully, knowing that Death Blossom is always around the horizon. TAS 21 does have Dragon Blade, so if they're not caught in the Death Blossom, could potentially use that back onto the enemy backline, trying to get an answer. Viking drops onto the enemy tank, are able to find it, does Veracity. There's Bob going onto the point to try and contest it. That's forced to be answered. There's the Death Blossom. Nice! Unfortunately, it's not slept by Veracity, but TAS 21 with a beautiful Dragon Blade is able to secure Q. Emanon with the nice little rally, not even used. 1 minute, 18 seconds remaining on the first point. Well done.
Score 0-3. Switching sides. Initiating match.
Going into this next top, the Dragons are going to be on this defensive side, so could potentially be not more in our favor, as we, I think, would prefer to play more aggressive style, but that's yet to be seen. Sorry, I'm putting us kind of on top of the rocket there. So 5 seconds remaining until we get into our next game here, or into our next point, or into our next phase here. Viking stays on the Winston, and everything seems to be pretty much as it should be.
Keep
People
in sight.
are on their same
I'll
characters.
have us in and
I'm
out
not
in
opting for
no
the
time.
Brigitte as opposed to the Lucio, potentially because that shield bash and the whip shot were able to answer any sort of Reaper shenanigans that they try and pull on us. And so potentially the Brigitte to try and counter that. I think it worked wonders for us on our attack side. But that didn't stop the Reaper from getting onto our Ana and using that Death Blossom to perfect synergy. So we're going to be seeing how that all works out. Looks like the Moorhead team is choosing to maintain high ground, which is a pretty commonly held position here on this map.
If that is the case, our enemies have much to fear.
We're going to see how that all plays out.
4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming.
Just barely misses the enemy tank. Ash watching for the Reaper. Able to find it. There's getting Lucio. Booped away by booped away from Wild Viking. There's Winston going onto the Moorhead team in that room, but a biotic grenade from Veracity is able to answer back. Fortune Suzy from the Kuliko. Drops onto Pagani, who's alone on the point, forced to jump out as they know that the entire team is on them. There's the Reaper up top though. Will they be able to get any sort of damage there? Probably not. There's Veracity with a nice nade, finds two of them. A lot of Winston jumping up and down. Here's Brigitte again. That's what we're talking about. Boots him off the high ground. A nice anti-grenade from Veracity is able to let TAS 21 secure that kill there. Reaper trying to get a kill onto Emanon. Able to find it. Forced to shield bash out. Hold that shield up. Nice little healing there from Veracity and Emanon. Good synergy there, like we were talking about. One's able to help the other. Wild Viking gets all the healing that they need from the supports. But Pagani stays on the high ground. Wild Viking tries to answer back, saying, no, you can't be on the high ground. Gets spooked away by the Lucio, and Tab21 has to be plucked out of danger. Wild Viking gets a nice little laser to the face, unfortunately. 62% to that primal rage. There is only 40%. And there's the nano boost already used very early for Veracity. Like we talked about, an early nano boost could potentially be good for a fight because you need another one later. Finds Pagani on the Sojourn. That's one of their characters that were the closest to their ultimate. The next one is the Kiriko. If we're able to find that, they are out of ultimates for this next fight. But drops down onto the point. Wild Viking falls to 6%, 6 health, but is healed by Brigitte. Well done. Barely living. Dungeons does manage to find a kill onto Veracity on the Ana, but nice little grenade there is able to secure a little bit of damage onto the Winston. Dungeons on the Lucio is able to find a lot of point pressure. Force Veracity to drop or leave it. Ends up dropping, but not a lot of tank presence there, so not able to secure this first point. But 4 minutes, 43 seconds remaining. A lot of games still left in the game. Like 97% to that primal rage, but we were talking about, needs to use it defensively as opposed to aggressively. Dundas on the Lucio is doing absolute work here. Has found 3 kills so far in the last few minutes here. Teleport in Kiriko. Forced to Suzu out, and there's Wild Viking after the Suzu's for top. Kiriko is pretty much a sitting duck, especially with no teleport remaining. Forces the Sojourn off of the high ground. Tries to get onto the Sojourn, but that Lucio is doing really good keep away here on the Sojourn. Sojourn does end up falling to Wild Viking. Will Lucio able to secure a kill? Potentially. Falls to 139 health. Forced retreat. Lucio has no wall rides up to that rocket that are very easy to use. Death Tower in the meantime on the Winston is trying to be getting into a backline, but Veracity answers back, and Death falls as well. Primal Rage, but 4 ultimates on the side of the Ruse are still available. They have Tuning Ledge, Overclock, Beat, and Death Blossom. We are not still yet at that nano boost. Like we were talking about, that early nano boost could be good or it could be bad, but right now it's looking like you don't have an ultimate to theirs. Spotted by the Kiriko. And there's both tanks jumping up top. Potentially going to be seeing a Kiriko following relatively shortly. And in the answer, here's Taz21 trying to get up top, back into answer the rest of this fight. What's happening? There's nothing happening. There's a Kiriko teleport. If we can get that Suzu out. Jump up to the Kiriko. No Suzu just yet. Jumps up, getting very high. Gets out of the shield. There's Taz21 on the Dragon Blade. Finds the Kiriko with no Suzu remaining, and the Reaper is all that's left. So forced to Wraith out. Tries to get a kill onto the Winston, but it's not going to be enough. Winston does not have to aim to pull it, so Genji jumping around is not going to be doing very much. A nice shield bash from Emanon, like we were talking about, is able to answer back against that Death Blossom, and a nice kill from Wild Viking is going to be able to secure the fight for the Dragons. Lucio is a very sneaky character. Tries to get out there, but it isn't enough. Wild Viking. And you can leave just for now with your Pagani at the very top. Going to be falling shortly here. Nice right click here from Wild Viking. Not able to secure the kill though. Lusio's going to be able to secure the safety, but Emanon with a nice little whip shot is able to secure a kill on Pagani. Well done there from the side of the Dragons. Has Bob fully built. Wild Viking 86% to that final rage. Kiriko doing lots of damage. We're looking for a teleport up. There's a continuing rush, trying to get some point presence as much as possible. Dungeon seems to fall. Bob is used onto point. The Reaper teleports up top. Emanon's going to be falling to Zep and the Kiriko who teleported. But a nice little nano boost onto Wild Viking is able to secure a lot of kills. Bob is going to be doing a lot of damage here. Forced to fall into the corner of the Sojourn as he's low resources remaining. And the point is left barren. And the Reaper is all that's left. Is forced to Wraith out. It has no teleport remaining. So Wild Viking is going to be able to pick him off relatively shortly here. The teleport is just able to get off cooldown in time before Taz21 is able to secure the kill, but creeps for it and finds it. All that's left is Primal Rage and Overclock in terms of ultimates on this map. Zeph is close to the Primal Rage of their own, but will they be able to use it in time? That's yet to be seen. 1 minute 36 seconds remaining on this point specifically, but still third point, lots of games to be played. Needs to get onto that Kiriko again. When the Winston jumps up, the Kiriko is soon to follow. Lucio tries to get a little bit of damage. Lucio's the one that's constantly going into our backline with the Reaper. There's the Sojourn ultimate. Tries to get a little bit of damage onto the Winston ultimate, but there it is! Primal Rage is popped, gets a health pack as well, jumps out, tries to get back to safety, looking for the team. The point is being pushed. They do notice in time though. Taz21 barely lives thanks to Veracity to make healing. Wild Viking goes onto the enemy team, but the Primal Rage is worn out. Veracity finds the kill into Zep with no tanks left. That's pretty much going to be a guaranteed fight loss for the side of the Ruse, unless they're able to find a miraculous pick here. They're forced to retreat because, like we talked about, their tank was one of the only people who had the ultimate remaining. But with no Primal Rage remaining, all that's left is potentially a Dragon Blade on the side of the Dragons in order to protect themselves from this final push on the side of the Ruse. Taz21 looking for a dash up onto the rocket, finds one. There's Winston jumping up on the top of the high ground, trying to get damage onto Taz 21. Knows Taz 21 is a threat. Jotaro Kujo doing much of the same, while Viking trying to protect Taz 21 as much as they can. Pulling the crosshairs away, goes high, and there's Taz 21 trying to get as much damage as possible from afar. And the beat is also not used. I apologize. I must have just seen an amp it up from Dundas. Dundas getting nice and sliced and diced by the Winston. Ash, a lot of damage here, but the point is 3. All that's left is Wild Viking, and Taz 21 trying to protect the point. 87 away from that Dragon Blade is going to fall in response. Warassi has to drop onto the point, but the beat from Dundas is not yet built. Yep, secures a kill. That's the 3rd point with 1:45 on the clock. Pretty much guaranteed that Moorhead will have more time if this goes into an overtime scenario. But will we be able to hold this point? The Ultimate Economy is not saying that we have an amazing chance. Jotaro Kujo is almost all the way up to that Dragon, or to that Death Blossom. They also have Primal Rage and Pursuing Rush and Beat available. It will be difficult here. Viking jumps onto Jotaro Kujo, and Zephyr spotted going into the top room, but drops down. There goes Zeph onto our backline, but tries to be slept by the Ana. Nice little sleep, and Emanon to kick it with a shield bash. Ace Intendies with a stray kunai finds Voracity. Again, those kunai are very deadly. Kujo forced to wraith out. Have any spells to protect themselves? No, they do not. But Pagatti's able to do enough damage and do enough. There's the Primal Rage, potentially used too early there. Needs to get onto the Kiriko. Kiriko teleports out. Kiriko Suzu's as well. Looks at Lucico and the Kiriko as the healers. Nice and Kiriko, nice juggling there from the side of Wild Viking, but falls extremely low. And Pagatti with a nice little whale is able to secure the kill. Taz 21 back on the stage. Anything they can. And there's the overclock from Pagatti and the beat from Dundas. Going to be a lot of damage. They are pushing for the win right now. Zeph still has access to 3 ultimates. Pagatti's able to secure a kill onto Emanon. Taz 21 with Dragon Blade is potentially our only hope remaining to secure this game. Wild Viking is still up though, needs to get one final jump onto the point, but with the Lucio Boop available as well as the Winston, potentially going to be able to stop that. Winston not looking at Wild Viking just yet, needs to jump on. There's a continuing rush as well from the Attendees. Where is the Dragon Blade? Bob gets onto the point, able to contest, and there's the Dragon Blade stop by Jotaro Kujo with a beautiful little Death Blossom there. Voracity with the bomb, he's able to find 1 kill onto Dundas. And here's Voracity trying to get a kill onto the Soldier. Soldier dashes out, falls extremely low, nice headshot there from Voracity, gets a kill, and Wild Viking is all that remaining, trying to protect the point. Jotaro Kujo is able to secure a kill. All that's left is 1 player remaining. Dundas is trying to get to the point as fast as possible. And there's a Dragon Blade from Taz 21. It's going to be enough damage. No one's going to have enough. Reaper falls extremely low, but forced to wraith out and teleports as well. Needs to stay on the point. Falls extremely low. 1.212 million. Taz 21 is booted away by the Lucio, trying to protect the point as much as they can. Lucio all is remaining until Emanon is there as well. Tries to shoot fast them away, making sure they're not on the point. It's an overtime situation. They're left with the tank. And with nobody remaining on the side of the Moorhead, it's going to be very difficult. Moorhead pops out onto the basket, doing absolute shredding, trying to shred the health bar as much as possible. And oh my goodness, is Moorhead going to be able to do this? That's it. The quarterfinal game goes to Moorhead in an absolute nail-biter of a final fight. Well played to both teams. Well, that's the match. Absolute nail-biter. There was not a single map that was played these 5 that was at all uninteresting. Thank you all for sticking around. That was the quarterfinals game of the playoffs. Join us next time for the semi-finals. Very, very, very exciting of the playoffs. And so I think we saw a really, really good showing from both teams. And, you know, it's just absolutely beautiful. Really.